I thought I was doing the right thing. At 28 years old, working as a software engineer in Seattle, I had finally saved enough to buy my parents a house. They had spent 30 years in a cramped rental apartment with broken heating and thin walls, watching my mother shiver through winters, while my father patched holes in the drywall, broke my heart. So when I found a perfect 3-bedroom house in the Portland suburbs, I put down every penny I had saved, $50,000. 4 years of living on ramen and skipping vacations. The house was mine legally on paper in my name. But 2 months after my parents moved in, my father called with a request that made my stomach drop. He wanted to add my sister Jessica's name to the deed. Not as a courtesy, as an owner. That is when everything started falling apart. Before I tell you what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching from. Drop your city in the comments below. And if you are enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Trust me, what comes next will make you question everything you thought you knew about family loyalty. Now let me take you back to where it all began. I grew up in a second-generation immigrant family in Portland, Oregon. My father Robert worked as a carpenter, and my mother Linda spent decades behind the register at a corner grocery store. We were not wealthy, but we had enough. Dinner on the table every night. Clothes that fit even if they came from thrift stores. My parents taught me the value of hard work, and I took it seriously. I studied until my eyes burned, earned a full scholarship to the University of Washington for computer science, and graduated with a 3.9 GPA. When a major tech company in Seattle offered me a position right out of college, I felt like I had made it. $50,000 a year felt like all the money in the world. My sister Jessica was 3 years younger than me, and we could not have been more different. Where I buried myself in textbooks, she thrived in social settings. She was loud, vibrant, always surrounded by friends. She started college but dropped out after her first year, saying it was not for her. I understood. Not everyone fits the academic mold. She bounced between jobs after that. Barista at a coffee shop, sales assistant at a clothing store, event coordinator for a catering company. Nothing stuck. My parents always defended her. They would say Jessica just needs time to find herself. I never judged her for it. We all have different paths. But there was one pattern I could not ignore. Jessica borrowed money from me constantly. $200 here for car repairs, $500 there for rent. Once she called me in a panic saying she needed $2,000 for an emergency. I wired it immediately. She never paid any of it back. When I asked about it months later, she looked annoyed. I thought we were family, she said. Family does not keep score. I dropped it. I did not want to be the kind of brother who counted pennies. After 4 years of working in Seattle, I had managed to save a significant amount. I lived in a tiny studio apartment, cooked my own meals, and avoided the expensive social scene that consumed most of my coworkers' paychecks. I saved because I had a goal. I wanted to buy my parents a house. They were getting older. My mother's arthritis flared up every winter in that cold apartment. My father's back ached from years of manual labor. They deserved better. So I started looking for houses in the Portland area, somewhere close to their familiar neighborhood, but nicer, safer. I found it on a Tuesday afternoon. A modest 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in a quiet suburb. It had a small backyard, a functional kitchen, and most importantly, a good heating system. The asking price was $275,000. I could put down $50,000 and mortgage the rest. The monthly payment would be around $1,800 for 30 years. It was manageable on my salary. Tight but manageable. When I called my parents to tell them, my mother cried. My father's voice cracked when he said, "Son, you do not have to do this." But I wanted to. They had sacrificed so much for me. This was my way of saying thank you. Jessica congratulated me over the phone too, saying how lucky our parents were. We planned to meet at the closing in 2 weeks. The paperwork was straightforward. I sat in the lawyer's office, signed document after document, and watched my name appear on the deed. The house was mine. Legally, financially, entirely mine. The lawyer explained that my parents would live there rent-free while I handled the mortgage payments. I nodded. I trusted my family. Why would I need additional legal protection against my own parents? The day we moved them in was beautiful, sunny, warm, full of laughter. I rented a truck, bought pizza for everyone, and helped carry furniture up the stairs. My mother kept hugging me, saying she could not believe this was real. My father gripped my shoulder with tears in his eyes. Even Jessica seemed genuinely happy, joking about how she would visit all the time. But then she said something that stuck with me. "This house is so big. I could use one of these rooms." I laughed it off. "You can visit any time," I told her. She looked at me seriously. "I mean, like, stay here permanently. Save rent money." I brushed it aside. We would figure it out if she ever needed help. That evening, after we finished unpacking, my parents asked me to sit down. "We need to talk," my father said. My mother twisted her hands nervously. "Jessica has been struggling financially," my father began. "Her landlord raised the rent. We thought maybe she could move in here, just temporarily." I hesitated. The house was supposed to be for my parents, not a revolving door. But Jessica was family. "Sure," I said. For a few months. 1 week later, Jessica showed up with a moving truck. Not a few boxes. An entire bedroom set. A massive television. Shelves full of books and decorations. She claimed the largest bedroom, not the guest room, and immediately started redecorating. Posters went up, fairy lights strung across the ceiling. It looked like she was settling in for years, not months. I felt uneasy but said nothing. I told myself I was being paranoid. 2 months passed. I was working late at my office in Seattle on a Friday evening when my phone rang. It was my father. His tone was serious, almost formal. "Son, we need to add Jessica's name to the house." I froze. "What, why?" "It is only fair," he said. "She lives here too." "And what if something happens to you?" I felt my chest tighten. "Dad, I am paying the mortgage." "I saved for years for this." "Family shares everything," he interrupted. "Your mother and I already talked to a lawyer." The words hit me like a slap. They had already consulted a lawyer without telling me. Without asking how I felt, I hung up and sat in the dark office staring at nothing. My hands shook, not from anger, but from the realization that the people I trusted most in the world saw me as a bank account, not a son. That weekend I drove the 3 hours from Seattle back to Portland. My mind raced the entire way. I rehearsed what I would say, how I would stay calm, how I would make them understand. When I pulled up to the house, Jessica's car was parked in the best spot right in front of the garage. I walked inside and found all 3 of them sitting in the living room waiting. The air felt thick with tension. My mother held a cup of tea with trembling hands. My father sat upright, his jaw set. Jessica leaned back on the couch, arms crossed, looking confident. "I do not understand why Jessica needs to be on the deed," I started. "I bought this house. We are a family," my father said firmly. "Everything should be shared." Jessica leaned forward. "Are you saying I am not family? That I do not deserve a home?" "That is not what I meant," I replied. "But I saved for years. I am paying the mortgage." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "Why are you being so selfish? Your sister needs security too." The word selfish stung. I had given them a house, and now I was selfish for wanting to protect my investment. My father continued. "What if you get married? Move away. We need Jessica here to take care of us." Jessica jumped in. "I have been living here helping with groceries, cleaning." The lie was so blatant I almost laughed. She had not contributed a single dollar toward bills. She barely cleaned her own room. "Your job pays well," my mother added. "You do not need this house. Jessica has nothing." I tried to explain that this was my future, my financial security. "Family comes before money," my father said, cutting me off. I realized I could not win this argument. They had already made up their minds. I left without another word, got in my car, and drove back to Seattle. Tears blurred the highway lights. I cried for the first time in years, not because of the money, but because the people I loved most had chosen my sister over me without hesitation. The next few weeks were unbearable. My mother called every single day. "Please just think about your sister." Jessica sent text messages. "I thought you loved me. Guess I was wrong." My father emailed me long paragraphs quoting Bible verses about family unity. Then relatives started calling. My uncle, my aunt, cousins I had not spoken to in years. All of them said the same thing. I was selfish, ungrateful. How could I do this to my poor parents? I needed advice, so I called my best friend Marcus, who happened to be a lawyer. I explained everything. Marcus did some digging and discovered that Jessica had already consulted with a lawyer about property rights. She was not just asking to be added to the deed out of fairness. She wanted legal ownership so she could claim half the house's value later. Marcus warned me, "If you add her name, you could lose everything." That is when I decided to go back one more time, unannounced. I needed to see what was really happening. When I arrived, loud music poured from the open windows. I walked up to the door and heard laughter, clinking glasses, voices I did not recognize. I peered through the window and saw Jessica hosting a party. Beer bottles covered the counter, strangers filled the living room, and then I heard her voice clear as day. "This is my house, not our house, not my parents' house, my house." I stood outside frozen. She was already claiming ownership before her name was even on the deed. When the guests left hours later, I walked inside. Jessica jumped when she saw me. "What are you doing here?" "I own this house," I said quietly. "I can come any time." "Not for long," she shot back. "Mom and Dad are on my side." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw someone I did not recognize. "You planned this from the beginning, did you not?" She smiled, cold and smug. "You are so naive. They love me more. Deal with it." I left that night and did not go home to Seattle. I sat in my car in a parking lot and cried until my throat hurt. This was not about the house anymore. It was about betrayal. The sister I had protected, the parents I had worked so hard to honor, all of them, saw me as a resource to exploit. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I met with Marcus at his office. He reviewed all my documents. Legally, I was in the clear. My name was on the deed. I had paid for everything. But he warned me that if my parents sued, it could get messy and expensive. He laid out 3 options. 1, add Jessica's name and keep the peace, but lose my asset. 2, refuse and face a legal battle. 3, stop paying the mortgage and let the bank foreclose. If I stopped paying, no one would benefit. But at least I would not be used. I thought about it for days. If I gave in, Jessica would eventually force a sale and take half the profit. If I fought them in court, I would spend thousands on legal fees and destroy what was left of my family. But if I stopped paying, the house would go back to the bank. They would lose their home, but they would also learn that manipulating me had consequences. I called my father one last time. "Dad, I'm giving you one last chance. Do you really want me to add Jessica's name?" "Yes," he said without hesitation. "It is non-negotiable. Family is family, even if it means I lose everything I worked for." "You are being dramatic," he said. "You will still have the house." "No, Dad," I said. "If that is your decision, I am stopping the mortgage payments." He laughed. "You are bluffing. You would not let your mother be homeless." But I was not bluffing. I sent an email to all of them. "Effective immediately, I will no longer pay the mortgage on the property located at the address you are living in. The house is in my name. You have been living there rent-free for 6 months. I will not be adding anyone's name to the deed. If the bank forecloses, that is the consequence of your choices." I attached a copy of the deed to prove I had every legal right. Then I turned off my phone. Within 2 hours, I had over 100 missed calls. I did not answer any of them. The text messages poured in. My mother begged, "Please do not do this. We will be homeless." Jessica cursed at me. "You are a monster. I hate you. My father disowned me. You are no longer my son. Relatives joined in. My uncle called me heartless. My aunt said I was a disgrace. My cousin said I was making the whole family look bad. I blocked every number. I needed silence. I kept my word. I did not pay the mortgage that month, or the next. The bank sent a warning letter to the house. My mother photographed it and texted it to me. See what you are doing, I did not respond. Another warning came the second month, more urgent. By the third month, the bank began foreclosure proceedings. Jessica took a different approach. She posted on social media painting herself as the victim. She wrote long posts about how her heartless brother was abandoning his family, how he had promised them a home, and then cruelly ripped it away. Some mutual acquaintances believed her and unfriended me. But the people who knew the truth, who understood what really happened, stood by me. Marcus reminded me daily, stay strong. They are trying to guilt trip you. The law is on your side. Let it play out. But letting it play out meant sleepless nights. It meant questioning myself constantly. Was I a terrible person? Should I have just given in? Then I would remember Jessica saying, they love me more. Deal with it. And I knew I had made the right choice. By the fourth month, the bank sent the final foreclosure notice. The house would be auctioned in 60 days. My mother called sobbing. We will have nowhere to go. I asked her one question. Will you drop the demand to add Jessica's name if I start paying again? There was a long pause. We already promised her, my mother said quietly. Yes, we will still add her. Then my answer is still no, I said, and hung up. The auction happened on a rainy Tuesday morning. The bank listed the house at a starting bid of $240,000 below what I had paid. A young family won the auction with a bid of $255,000. After all the fees and remaining mortgage balance, the bank returned about $15,000 to me. I had lost $35,000 of my original down payment. In total, I was down about $20,000. It hurt financially, but it felt like freedom. The new owners were given possession in 30 days. A sheriff delivered the eviction notice. My parents and Jessica had to leave. When Jessica called me, her voice shook. Dayton, please. We were wrong. Help us. You had months to apologize, I said. You chose pride. Where will we go? Mom's health is bad. You should have thought about that before demanding my house. I am your sister, she cried. A sister does not steal from her brother, I replied, and ended the call. My parents called next. My father's voice was small. Son, we made a mistake. Please forgive us. I needed to hear that 6 months ago, I said. My mother pleaded. We cannot afford rent anywhere. Everything is so expensive. You have 30 days, I told them. I suggest you start looking. What about Jessica? My father asked. She is 25, I said. She can work, like I did. On the last day, I drove to Portland and parked down the street. I watched from a distance as a moving truck pulled up. My parents, both in their 60s, carried boxes slowly to the truck. Jessica sat on the front steps crying. My heart ached watching them. Part of me wanted to run over and fix everything. But I knew if I gave in now, they would never respect me. They would see me as someone they could manipulate forever. The new family arrived with their own moving truck, excited and hopeful. My parents finished loading and drove away in my father's old pickup. Jessica followed in her car. The house, the one I had bought with 4 years of savings and dreams of honoring my parents, now belonged to strangers. I sat in my car and cried, but this time the tears felt different. Not just sadness. Relief. I had stood my ground. They could not use me anymore. The months after the foreclosure were strange. I cut off all contact with my family, blocked their numbers, unfriended them on social media. I threw myself into work. My boss noticed my dedication and promoted me. My salary jumped to $70,000 a year. The raise felt like validation that hard work still mattered, even when family did not. Healing was not easy. I spent many nights replaying everything, wondering if I had been too harsh. Marcus stayed by my side, constantly reminding me, "You did the right thing. Setting boundaries is not cruelty. It is self-respect." I joined a support group for people dealing with family trauma. Hearing others' stories helped me realize I was not alone. There were so many people whose families had used them, guilt-tripped them, taken advantage of their love. Slowly, I started to rebuild my life. I began dating again and met a woman named Natalie, an elementary school teacher with a kind heart and a sharp sense of humor. When I told her my story, she did not judge me. She held my hand and said, "Family should lift you up, not tear you down. You made the right call." Her support meant everything. About a year after the house was sold, I received an email from my mother. It was short, just 3 sentences. "I am sorry. I see it now. I was wrong. No request for money. No manipulation. Just an apology." I read it over and over, tears streaming down my face. I did not respond right away. I needed time to process. But it was the first step towards something, even if I did not know what yet. I heard through distant relatives that Jessica had finally found stable work as a medical receptionist. She was paying her own rent, managing her own bills. Maybe the harsh lesson had forced her to grow up. I hoped so. I did not wish her harm. I just did not want to be her safety net anymore. My parents moved back into their old apartment complex. By some miracle, their old unit was still available. Life was harder for them now, but they were managing. I did not send them money. I did not offer help. But I also did not hold on to anger. I simply kept my distance. Looking back, I understand now what I could not see before. Love without respect is just manipulation. My parents wanted my money, not my happiness. Jessica wanted my house, not my brotherhood. And I wanted a family that valued me, not one that used me. The hardest lesson I learned was that sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones you need protection from. I lost $20,000. I lost my relationship with my parents and sister, at least for now. But I gained something far more valuable. I gained my self-respect. I learned to set boundaries. I learned that saying no even to family is not selfish. It is survival. Today, I am 29 years old. I am engaged to Natalie. We bought a small house together in Seattle. The deed has both our names on it because we are partners who respect each other. No one can take this from me, because I built it with someone who values me. Sometimes I drive past that old house in Portland. The new family has painted the shutters blue and planted flowers in the front yard. It looks happy. I do not feel regret when I see it. I feel peace. That house was supposed to represent love and gratitude. Instead, it became a symbol of entitlement and betrayal. Letting it go was the best decision I ever made. I learned that love without respect is just manipulation. My parents wanted my money, not my happiness. Jessica wanted my house, not my brotherhood. And I wanted a family that valued me, not used me. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. I walked away from the house, but I walked toward my own peace. And you know what, I sleep better now than I ever did when I was trying to make them happy. Because I finally made myself happy. That house is gone, but I am still here. And that is what matters. So let me ask you, what would you have done in my situation? Would you have given in to keep the peace, or would you have stood your ground like I did? Drop your answer in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with anyone who might need to hear it. Sometimes we all need a reminder that protecting ourselves is not selfish. It is necessary. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you find the courage to set your own boundaries, whatever they may be. Take care of yourselves out there. You deserve respect, especially from the people who claim to love you most.